painting videos. I love doing painting videos, and they're fun for me. And not everyone watches the painting videos, so you are one of the few, the proud, the folks who stick around for the other things in the channel. And thank you. I appreciate you. So we're going to do a painting video, and we're going to paint Baby Groot the way that if I turn them all around to where they're facing the camera, you'll be, oh my goodness. There's at least three of them. There's four of them right there. We're going to paint this guy after just having finished carving him. If you want to carve one yourself, it is a fantastic beginner carving. You can absolutely do that. Trust in yourself. Get a good sharp carving knife, and I got a video on the channel about how to do that, and then you can paint up one of these guys after you get them carved. So let's go ahead and flip the camera around, and we'll jump into painting Baby Groot. Okay, so let's paint this guy. So here he is. Straight out of the carving video, he is watered down and washed up and very clean looking. And I've also got these other two Groots that I've carved recently as well. So I'm going to paint all three of them together. And we're going to use a regular paintbrush. This is just a craft store pack kind of paintbrush, right? It came with like a dozen paintbrushes maybe. This is a cheap paintbrush. It's a small tip. You can see the size of there compared to my finger. Small tip. I'm not going to use anything big or fancy. To do the little little white dots on the eyes, I'm going to use this painting stylus. And you can get these on Amazon pretty cheap. They just got a little ball on the end. You can use a toothpick. You can use anything that you want to just to dot a little bit of white right there on the eyes to provide that effect. So we're going to do that as well. And for the body, we're staining with black walnut Danish oil. Now I use Watco's brand black walnut Danish oil. You can use whichever one you want to. When it comes to Danish oil, they are recipes, and every provider, every brand will have a slightly different recipe. So if you get a different one than Watco, it may be a slightly different color for the black walnut Danish oil. I don't have it in the original container because black walnut Danish oil is part boiled linseed oil, and because of that, it will start to polymerize a little bit around the lid. So the original container got a little gummed up and gunked up around the lid. You can see this one's starting to do that right there just a little bit, but that's why it's not in the original container, as instead in a mason jar. Now for the colors we're going to use, I'm going to use Holly Green. Get that to focus right there. Holly Green for little bits of green on the top of the head right there. And I'm going to use just regular old titanium white for the eyes. And then the black, doesn't matter what kind of black you use, but I am using this pure black Noir from Folk Art. And for the pot itself, I am using this toasted terracotta. And there's a little bit brighter color than I would want to use, but when we dip them in black walnut Danish oil, it darkens it up a little bit, which I think winds up being pretty nice. So just those four colors is all we're going to use. Nothing complex, nothing crazy. We're going to paint them first, all the way, and then we're going to dip the whole thing into the black walnut Danish oil. And yeah, it'll work out quite well, quite easily. Not a problem. I'm going to put this all the stuff we're going to use, I'm going to go ahead and put right into the painting tray right now. And I always wind up putting more paint in here than I need. Right there we go. A little bit of black. That's way too much black. I'm trying not to get too much, but it's hard to get to squeeze out sometimes. It starts to dry up in there, and that's just the nature of paint bottles, I think. Okay, so I got a little thing of water here. I use it to wet my brush down. You may have noticed that all three of these are still wet from being washed down. So all three of them are wet to the touch, and they soaked that water a little bit into the rag beneath this paper towel. So I paint my carvings when they're all wet. So if you're wondering whether or not I oil beforehand, I don't. There's no oil on these carvings whatsoever, just a little bit of water. And I'm going to dip that paintbrush into the terracotta paint, dip it in the water. So there's water and paint on here now, and that's going to enable me to kind of thin it out a little bit as I go, because I don't want it to be too thick a color of paint. I want to be able to see the grain of the wood through the terracotta paint. And the black walnut Danish oil that we're going to do is going to assist with that. It's going to bring out that wood grain a little bit and make it pop. And on the overlay, you see there, the overlay is the carving that we're doing right now. So if you're wondering where all I'm going to paint, you can see it quite clearly on that overlay. When it comes to the top of the terracotta plant here, I'm going to try to get right up to that, let me adjust the light here. I'm going to try to get right up to his base, but not touch his base. So this is my first time doing a painting video with the new camera. So let me know if you like what you see. If you don't like what you see, let me know what you're thinking. I know I've gotten all the shake out of it now, so being mounted to the bookshelf adjacent to me allows me to have that camera there and beat on the table and carve as I want to and not shake the carving, which is nice. But I'm still not certain if where it's at right now is the best spot for the autofocus all the time, because sometimes it unfocuses and refocuses. There it is. I'm not sure what to do about that yet, so I'm still working. I'm still learning. So bear with me as I do that, because it's all a learning process. I have it on autofocus, and I may wind up taking it off and having it focus on a point instead, I think, maybe. Yeah, but we'll see. So, still working on the terracotta pot. Just bringing that paint down. We got one more side to paint. A little bit of paint, a little bit of water, and we'll bring that down. I need to do this quicker with a thicker paintbrush if you wanted to, and it wouldn't be a problem at all. I have been snowed in lately because the Midwest, where I'm from over here in Missouri, we got in my area about 1.5 inches of ice, freezing rain and ice. And then we got about 4 to 5 inches of snow on top of it. And that ice, that's the doozy. It's had the kids out of school for 1.5 weeks. It's had me unable to get to work on some days. And it has been quite an issue. There we go. So we got him going so far. There's the pot all painted up. Small paintbrush. Took us a while to get that done. And that's not a problem. So we don't have a whole lot else to paint on him. What we're going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of green paint and I'm going to dip it in water and I'm going to thin it out a bit right here, okay? So I wiped a bit of it off so there's not much paint in the paintbrush. You can see right there. Not a lot of paint in the paintbrush. And I'm just going to go right into these cracks and crevices like this right here and just kind of paint that. If you mess up and you get a little bit outside those cracks, it's okay. When you put this black walnut Danish oil on there, you're not going to believe what it'll hide for you. But just put a little bit of green into those cracks like it's growing. Get a little more paint if you need to. Wipe it off. And then I'm wiping it off because I don't want too much on the brush. And if you do this and it's a little bit off where it's kind of not completely covering the inside of those cracks, it still looks okay. Look at this one. See? It's not perfect. And it looks just fine. You do not need to be perfect on this. You just need to get a little green there for a little splash of baby Groot color. And there we go. That's going to look pretty good. Okay. So I'm washing the paintbrush. And wipe it out just to get that rest of that paint out. And now I'm going to go black. Now with this black, I'm not going to water it down, but I am going to wipe some of the black off right here on this towel. Because I don't want to have too much in when I go into this eye, because that's how you wind up getting stuff that's going outside of the area you want it. So I'm not watering it down, and I'm just going to kind of start in the middle, and I'm going to push it up to the edge. So let me see if I can get right here. I'm going to show you. Start in the middle and push it up to the edge of the inside of the eye. That way I don't get outside of the eye. Same thing. I just realized it was really out of focus there. Sorry. So yeah, going along pretty well. A little bit more right there. Okay, a little more black paint. Wiping it off. Just like that. If you can hear those noises, that's my wife in the background. Don't mind her. Now she's looking at me aghast. Did you just mention me in your video? What are you trying to do? It's okay. The painting videos, there are far fewer viewers, and I don't mind it being a little not as restrictive, a little more free form. Okay, those eyes look pretty good, I think. I took my time to do that. I don't want the paint bleeding out, you know, but you don't have to take your time on that. You don't have to work as hard as I did. Now I'm going to go ahead and speedily go through these other two and knock them out as well. I'll let this guy dry a little bit before we do the white in the eyes, and then we're just going to dunk him in black walnut Danish oil. So, time for the 80s montage / speed up scene. Okay, so if you're overzealous and you're painting a little too quickly before you finish getting something dry, you can just carve those little pieces of orange that were on there off and move right along. So if that is something you run into, a problem that you have, do the same thing I just did. Let's check this guy with it. Okay, folks, we're back. So we got these three guys that we're going to be doing the treatment of black walnut Danish oil and white paint to. So we already got the white paint put out. Johnny, what are you doing? Okay, let's start with the one that we carved. And we're going to do a bigger dot in the top left corner and then a smaller dot closer to the middle. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take that white paint and I'm just going to dip the stylus in there. Just like so. So you can see it just got a little bit of white paint on that tip, right? And then it is just a matter of, which way you can see it in the camera, just dabbing the dot. Little dot will do you, like so. Wipe that white paint off. On the other side of the stylus is a smaller ball. So I'll use that smaller ball and dip, and I'm just going to do a lighter touch. A lighter touch. Just barely, like that. Gives me a unique effect. You don't have to have two dots. You can just do one dot. You can do them in opposite sides. And with the stylus too, if you touch it more firmly or more closer, you can get a larger dot. So like this guy, let's do the top other side. And if I bring that tip all the way down, it provides a bigger dot. If I just barely touch it, I get a much smaller dot. The same stylus. So it doesn't matter if you're using a stylus or if you're using some homemade implement like a toothpick or whatever, right? That provides a little bit of character with those dots like that. And you can just do one dot if you want to, and he looks just fine that way too. I like the look of having a couple of dots on there, so I'm going to do a second one on him. Actually, I'm going to make those ones a little bit bigger. I got more paint. I redo those dots, make them a bit bigger, and now I'm just going to go a little bit further back. Just barely touch like that. I like that look. So I'm going to hair dry these guys to give them a little spa time. And then we're going to be dipping them in black walnut dash oil. We have got those three guys all done up. Now we're going to bring them home, make them look like this guy. And to do that, we need the black walnut dash oil. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Now, when it comes to black walnut dash oil, it is a recipe, like I said before, of various kinds of chemicals. And you're not entirely certain what all is in there outside of boiled linseed oil. I mean, it could be chemical solvents, it could be natural solvents. They don't have to tell you, and because of that, I'm going to have at least one glove on to handle this as I dip these guys. As I dip. And those eyes are dry. Yes. Yes, eyes are all dry. Okay. So this is a very technical process, obviously. You just, oh no, please don't drown me, Mr. Man. Oh. Like so. And look how dark he looks. Oh my gosh, it's terrible. We have ruined this carving, haven't we? We have. We've definitely ruined the carving. Now, we didn't get that bottom dipped, so we're just going to go back in there, dip that bottom. And we've absolutely ruined this carving. You can tell with how dark he got immediately that he was absolutely ruined, and it's terrible, and it will never, ever work out. Wait a minute. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. No, it's a false alarm. It's going to work out okay. This is going to be just fine. And he's actually going to lighten up a little bit more as he dries. But see, you don't have to get all technical. You don't have to get all crazy with that green too. It's kind of lightly colored on one side and just kind of like fades out a little bit. That's a really neat effect, right? We just put a little dab of paint in there. We didn't go crazy trying to get it right to the edges, and it worked out really well. And the white stayed nice and bright, and it darkened up that terracotta a little bit. You can see it comparatively, and you can still see the wood grain beneath it, which looks beautiful. And he definitely has a good wood texture to him, which you want Groot to have. So I think he worked out really well. Now, that's not the one we carved. This is the fellow we carved, that slanted side. So let's do the same thing. Oh, no, don't drown me. Ah! In he goes. Let's open this back up. And shake, shake, shake. Put it back in there. And let's get that bottom part dipped. Same thing. We're just drying it up. Yeah, that's looking good. That's looking absolutely fantastic. I mean, look at that. That's just wonderful. I like these little guys. One more for the tank. Dip that bottom. Probably the better way to do it. And then all in from the top. Look at how dark they look when they first come out. And you could leave this on there and just let it sit and kind of drip dry for a little while. If you did that, he would be darker. If you wipe him off immediately, he's going to be lighter. And we don't want him to be crazy dark, so we're wiping him off immediately. If we wanted to darken him up too, we could try to do a second coat. I haven't noticed that a second coat of dash oil really makes things much darker at all, but other people tell me it does. Your mileage may vary. I haven't seen it in practice, seen it like do that very well, but And I want to point out too that doing the heads when you're carving these guys in a little bit of a different shape gives you very different looks from the first guy to the second guy to the third guy here. Gives you very different looks. on what you got going on. Making the hands a bit wider like this guy in the middle, which we did, or bringing him down like this. If you leave the arms a little bit further out, he kind of looks like he's built, like he's flexing. Ugh, look at me, I'm a strong man. Yeah, so that's something you can do. It's a little different look. I like bringing him back a little bit further like we did in this guy. But yeah, and that is our Groot all done up. And you can see them too, like as they dry, they're going to, like I said, lighten up a little bit. The one on the left is the dry one. The one on the right is freshly applied. The one on the left has had like maybe a week or so to cure. I carved him figuring out the design about a week ago. And I carved another, then I carved another, and I carved the one for today. And I'm working on a bigger 6-inch one as well. So there we go. Baby Groot. And that's the end of the painting video. We got Baby Groot all painted up and looking fantastic. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and watching the video. I really appreciate it. I sincerely do. If you want to, head over to Instagram, give me a follow over there, that way we can keep in touch. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then down below you find some links too. If you want to head over to Etsy, you can head over to Etsy and buy some stickers to help support the channel. These stickers are 3-inch die cut with matte finish and have various funny wood carving sayings that you can put on your tool totes or water bottles to let people know what your hobbies are. And I think they're kind of fun. And this one here's my favorite. This is my carving sticker. That one always makes me giggle. But if you don't want to buy stickers, then don't buy stickers. You can also, if you want to help support the channel, get a subscription to Wood Carving Illustrated. There's a link for that down below. That does help the channel out. And if by doing that, any money I get from those things is going to go to support the channel. It's going to go to buy things so I can use to review, or buy more camera equipment and lenses that don't do focusing like that just did right there, and buy lighting and all the silly stuff I need to do this, because it's a really fun hobby. And it's going to break the bank if I do it all on my own, so I'd appreciate the help. Outside of that, folks, thank you so much for your time. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.